Good morning, guys. Welcome to the DFS Minute for April 8th, 2015. I'm your host, Michael Rathburn. You can find me on Twitter at FantasyWrath. And yesterday was a good day. We did have the launch of rotocurve.com, and we also launched our daily show, which is 12 to 1, 3 days a week, our daily MLB show with Benny and Josh called The Curve. And they were able to give you a lot of insight as far as how to start off as a beginning player in playing daily fantasy baseball. One of the things I did that was kind of an impromptu thing was I gave out a value play video at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern last night. Just because of the landscape of the way things were going, I felt like I had something to share. And it was a tremendous success. Fortunately, we did hit on a lot of those value plays, and the top play, I gave out David Peralta. I said I really liked him as my #1 guy. Also Brandon Geyer, but Peralta hit a home run. I also gave out Jake Lamb, who hit a home run, and so that was good. And we also threw in Travis Snyder as well. So I hope that some of you guys were able to use some of those plays, especially in the outfield, because that was the advice I gave out, is to load up on value in the outfield and then go heavy with guys like Posey, Goldschmidt, and Tulo, and all three of those guys had productive nights. So I'm really hoping you guys found your way to the pay window, and hopefully, time permitting, I'm going to be able to put out some more stuff that will help you with that kind of stuff and give you a daily strategy for the day based on the landscape of the way things play out. One of the things that just give you, a brief background of kind of how I went about my day with daily fantasy baseball yesterday. I was on Jake Arrieta. And he was my #1 guy. And unfortunately, with the rain situation, that really made it where I had to move away from him. And so I really didn't like Zach Greinke. Also, we had a rain situation there. I wasn't thrilled with Alex Wood going against the right-handed heavy lineup, and I really wasn't thrilled about Latos. But I did like Jesse Hans. So what I ended up doing is I kind of split my action on my pitchers. I went some Hans, some Latos, some Wood. Obviously, the Latos blew up. And the thing about Latos that really scared me is I've been hearing that he's not right and he's not healthy and he hasn't looked good. And those are from people that I trust that are either local beat writers or national sports writers that I've trusted for several years. And so we saw Latos go out there and have one of the worst outings a pitcher could ever have. So definitely keep that in the back of your mind. I'm not saying that, he couldn't go out next time and have a good game, but he's definitely a guy I'm going to stay away from based on the reports that I've been hearing. And so from that perspective, one of the things that did scare me a little bit yesterday was I saw national sites putting Latos as their #1 pick, and I was really confused by that, and I really didn't understand the reasoning behind that. I do understand that it was at home and it was against a very weak Braves lineup, but again, knowing what some of the reports were on him, and it seems like it wasn't necessarily something that a lot of people were taking into consideration. So, definitely, trust your gut in those situations. If you see something out there that doesn't look right and you know it's not, then don't listen to the herd. Go with what you trust and your sources that you trust. That really was kind of my takeaway from that. Real quick, what I'm going to do is kind of talk about each site briefly, give kind of my take, or my so-called hot take, however you want to say it, about some stuff that's going on. One of them is FanDuel. And obviously, it looks like they're going to be primed to make a monster thing here in the next few months. I'm sure there's another round of funding coming or another big deal. But one of the things that I'm a little bit confused about is this Dallas qualifier. I don't really understand why they're doing it. It's a $200,000 prize pool, which is great. It's only 10 entrants. So, I really wish that they had maybe bumped it up to 20, made the seat value maybe around 10 or 12. And the reason I'm saying is they're not filling, and they're not coming close to filling. On the first 2 days of baseball, their Dallas qualifiers have not come anywhere close to filling. And I'd be concerned if I was FanDuel, and that maybe the execution on this promotion was not done very well. And something to take a look at. They ran a $5 qualifier. They came back running a $25 qualifier. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of buzz about this qualifier at all. And I kind of get it, because I really don't have any interest in playing in it. I mean, if there's massive overlay and I could throw in a couple of entries at $5, I'll do it. But at 25, I wasn't even going anywhere near it last night. And I think it was somewhere around maybe 100 or 200 short, and I really didn't have any interest in playing in it. So, maybe they can tweak it coming back, maybe open it up where it's more, a 20 entrant field. To me, it's not really about the prize pool. It's more about, if I get into something that's a 10K or 12K seat with 20 entrants, it's a little bit easier to qualify. The other thing too, and I'm going to roll into this when I talk about Fantasy Aces, is these are bankroll drainers, and they're not bankroll builders. And we'll talk about what bankroll builders are in another segment. But these qualifiers with the low percentage pay trail are just bankroll killers, and not something that a new player should even want to really jump into. There's a way that you can hedge on qualifiers, and we'll talk about that. Hopefully Benny and Josh will get into that a little bit in the curve, but there is a way that you want to bankroll manage your qualifiers, and you just don't want to fire away blindly. There's a way that you can at least, so-called break even, but the pay trails are so bad that it's just not something that's very attractive to me at this time. DraftKings, I'm not really going to touch on baseball only because they have the Millionaire Maker PGA coming up. And this is a monumental thing in the industry. And who would have ever thought a year ago that we would have $1 million first prize PGA contest? I remember about a year ago, I was consulting with Fantasy Aces, and we were actually discussing what sports to launch. And it was between NHL and college football, and then also PGA. And at the time, I actually recommended PGA. There are a lot of other reasons why they probably didn't go with PGA, but I did tell them that PGA was a great sport to launch because it was pretty much all year round. It was a weekly event. It gets you through those summer months, and I really felt like PGA was on an uptick and going to really explode. So seeing what DraftKings is doing with the acquisition of Draft Street and just the machine that's gotten behind this PGA DFS, it's amazing, and kudos to them for what they've done. I think this Millionaire Maker is going to get 100,000 entries. I don't necessarily think it's going to fill. I think it gets to 100,000, which is a landmark. The fact that they can get that amount of entries, my takeaway from it is, go ahead, throw some entries in, maybe try to get some satellites cheap, but take advantage of perhaps some overlay and some GPPs, because if all the money is going to be funneled into the Millionaire Maker, there might be some value in some PGA GPPs. And with all those lineups already pre-made on the site, there is going to be some volume, and there's going to be an opportunity to really be able to capitalize. So that's my take on DraftKings PGA. Getting over to Fantasy Aces, I'm obviously very excited about their live final. Conversely, on the FanDuel live final, which is 10-man, 200,000, Fantasy Aces is a 20-man, 250,000. And to me, it's more attractive because the way that they've set the event up. One is their qualifiers are basically hybrid GPPs, which means the pay trail is much more attractive. The prize pool is much more attractive. And they're doing qualifiers at 109, which a lot of people might say, well, 109 is a little bit of a tough thing. Well, here's the thing, though. It's only a 300-man field right now. My take is that they're going to expand that GPP because I believe that they're going to be able to fill it at 300. They did it with NBA. They started off at 200. They got up to 300. It's because their qualifier is unique to the industry, and it's much more attractive to players at all levels because it's not a bankroll drain, because the payout trail is so good. It's just so much more better. So I really hope that some of the other sites take a look at what Fantasy Aces is doing with their main qualifier and adapts that process, with some of them at least, not all of them, but some of them, and just make the qualifiers much more attractive. There definitely is enough liquidity on the site to be able to do it. But the fact that they're doing it in Angel Stadium, that they're doing the Home Run Derby live on the field is incredible and really attractive to a big piece of the DFS community and also fantasy players in general. I know right now for me, DraftKings hasn't announced theirs yet, and FanDuel isn't announced theirs yet. And I would imagine that they're going to be doing that over the next week or two. FanDuel wants to get through their NBA, and I'm sure DraftKings wants to get through PGA Millionaire Maker. So once all the attention is off those big tournaments, I would expect DraftKings and FanDuel to drop an announcement in the next 7 to 10 days regarding what their big plans are for MLB. Really, there's no reason for them to announce any big plans early on because all the money is going to come in anyway for opening day, and so they can hold off and wait a couple of weeks and then capitalize on that momentum The last thing you want to do is have several big promotions running out there and something gets overlooked. So that's what I would expect. But getting back to Fantasy Aces real quick, love what they're doing. It's probably going to be the one qualifier that I am going to go after, depending on what happens with the other sites. But I'm definitely going to be firing some bullets in Fantasy Aces. Who wouldn't want to go to California? Who wouldn't want to go to Angel Stadium? Who wouldn't want to go to Home Run Derby? A lot of us are former baseball players, either at the high school level, college level, even minor league. And so just the ego boost alone right there is enough for me to get interested. Draft day, I don't know what's going on over there. Obviously, we know they're run by MGT. There was a lot of speculation, perhaps they were going to run out of cash June 30th. They're doing a lot of other strange deals. I don't know what that means for the future of the site, but what I do know is that the lack of GPPs, the lack of bracket, the lack of really anything that site was built on, which is unfortunate because Andrew and Taylor did a phenomenal job and other guys that were involved in the site. It's really sad to see where draft day is now. There is a lot of action on that site. I did well on that site a few years ago when I played baseball there. And I really like the format. I love the interface. I love the setup. And it's really unfortunate to see where that site is. Maybe somebody can come in and swoop in and save it that actually knows how to run a daily fantasy site, or hand it off to somebody who knows how to run a daily fantasy site, because it's really a tailor-made. I mean, no pun intended, but it's got a great foundation, and I think if somebody were able to get behind it and get rid of some of the garbage that's on there with the cartoon banners and the pushing the penny contests and just stuff that doesn't work in the industry, I think that they would be able to do something. They had tremendous success with the bracket format in baseball a couple years ago. Don't understand why they're not utilizing that. Nobody cares about snake drafts at this point. I'm sorry for you guys out there that love snake drafts, but really and truly, it's just not there. There's too many issues, you know, having to match up with people. If guys get scratched, then what do you do? To me, snake draft in the daily format is just not something that's very attractive. So, you know, maybe somebody can figure it out. I don't know if somebody will buy them out. They'll go out of business. But the fact that they're not running a big qualifier is probably an indication that there may be something going on there. The other thing I'm going to touch on real quick is Konya. And I'm actually going to come at this in a much different way than what people think. I'm not ripping the guy. I always pick up Konya games for like $1 because I don't know what it is. I guess it's just like I just feel the need to know what Konya is doing and what is that guy thinking. And I don't know if he does different heads-up lineups or cash game lineups. I don't know. I don't think he does. But I've noticed that he's been stacking games. And what I mean by that is the majority of his lineup on Tuesday and Wednesday was he just stacked the Colorado-Milwaukee game. 4 guys on the Rockies, 4 guys on the Brewers, you know, whatever. And it's been a little strange. I'm not exactly sure why he would do that in cash games. It's certainly not an optimal strategy. And who am I to give Konya a strategy? I mean, obviously this guy's won a ton of money, but I'm just putting it out there that I just think it's very strange that that type of lineup is in a cash game. To me, it's not something that I would ever do or ever recommend. So I just thought that was very interesting. To wrap up for today's segment, just, you know, remember to check out Benny and Josh today at 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. We feel that's a great time slot for guys to hit us up on their lunch break, or even perhaps watch it on demand or listen to it on demand in the car or on your iPhone or your smartphone. You know, go ahead and just get that audio feed off the video. Hopefully you have a nice data plan. But those guys are going to be coming and bringing some really good stuff. And again, RotoCurve is all about speaking to beginner players. That's not to say, you know, if you're a veteran player, you can't pick up any knowledge. But really and truly, our focus on RotoCurve is that we want to reach new players and beginner players in daily fantasy. Look for some strategy sessions from these guys, and then also continue to look for some DFS minute updates as I go throughout the week. If something happens to pop up and I feel like I can share and bring some value to the table, I will do it. So I want to wish everybody a great day. I'll talk to you later, and make sure to check out Benny and Josh. Take care, guys.